Hello everyone, this is Ashley Tucker. Thank you for joining me for today's video. In today's video I have two cards that I used Distress Oxide ink on. I just got a whole bunch of Distress Oxide ink for my birthday, so I'm probably going to be playing with it a lot in a lot of videos coming up. If you don't know anything about Distress Oxide inks, they are quite different from most inks out there because they are a dye and pigment ink fusion. They react with water just like Distress inks react, but these are opaque inks, so you can actually use them on dark cardstock and you'd still be able to see them. So the reason that they're called Distress Oxide inks is because of the reaction that they have with water. When you put water on them, they kind of have this oxidation look that happens. It's really cool if you just like mist the whole thing with water, it'll get like brighter. There are so many different techniques that you can do with this kind of ink, but for this video I'm just blending this rainbow background, and then I did drip a little bit of water on it and lift that up. And I'm sure like in future videos I'm going to explore different things you can do. So one of the biggest reasons that I really am loving these is they blend so easily. Like, they blend so much better than my Distress inks. If you struggle blending Distress inks, you should probably pick up some Distress Oxide inks because it's so easy to blend with them. Anyways, when I was making this card, I honestly had no idea where it was going. I didn't have any kind of plan. So I knew I wanted to play with the Distress Oxide inks, so I created that background, but I did not know how I wanted this card to be laid out or anything. So I decided to stamp a whole ton of images from the Me and My Dragon stamp set from Mama Elephant and just color them all in and cut them all out, and then I didn't know which ones I was going to use and which ones I wasn't going to use. I just thought I would do a whole bunch and then I'd figure out a card later. Actually, you know what? I said that these are from the Me and My Dragon stamp set, but actually half of them are from the Dragon Wishes stamp set and half of them are from the Me and My Dragon stamp set. I stamped out all of these images using my Misty tool. I stamped them on Bristol paper using some archival black ink, and I'm going to color them in with my Arteza markers. I'm not going to go over too much how I do my coloring because I recently put out a video that goes over my Arteza marker coloring in detail. So if you want to see how I color with these markers, feel free to just go back and watch that video. I would like to say, I didn't say this in that video, but because I didn't know it at the time, but if you buy the bigger pack of Arteza markers, I believe it's 96, I have the 48 pack, but if you buy the 96, those markers are labeled with names and numbers. They just didn't put names and numbers on any of the smaller packs for some reason. In the future, I'll probably get that pack, and then I'll be able to tell you what color I'm using, but for now I can't really tell you what colors I'm using when I color. I colored in these images and I wasn't sure which ones I'd end up using for the cards, but I did end up using most of them. I think I didn't use one of the dragons, and I didn't use the girl, and I didn't use any of the clouds. It wasn't a big deal that I didn't use the clouds, it wasn't really a lot of coloring. But the biggest reason I didn't use the clouds was because I don't own the matching die set for this, and cutting out really tiny images like that it's very hard to cut them in a smooth way that looks right. So like you'll see here, I did cut them out because I was planning on using them, but after I cut them out they looked really bumpy, like jagged, and it just looked not right. At this point though in the process, I really wanted clouds, so instead I took out this cloud die and die cut a bunch of these little clouds, and those looked much better. After doing all that coloring, I had thought a lot and come up with kind of an idea of what to do, So I thought I would create these little panels and make sort of a window into this beautiful background. I used foam tape to pop these panels up, and this kind of creates the illusion of depth, like the background is further away. And I really like the way that turned out. Sometimes it's hard to cover up a background like that when it's like really pretty, but a lot of times less can be more, you know? And I don't know about you guys, but I've always been a big fan of negative space. I went to college for graphic design, and I did a lot of work with negative space in my design work. I love using negative space so much. I used my Tombow glue and glued those clouds on in the background. I didn't want to pop those up because I wanted those to seem like they were further away. And then I popped up the dragons so that they seemed closer. I don't know if you noticed, but I did go over all the clouds with my Wink Stella brush. For this sentiment, I chose one of the sentiments from the Dragon Wishes stamp set. It says, "I'm here for you, all of me and my dragons," and I heat embossed that in a white embossing powder. After I used my heat tool to emboss this sentiment, I cut it into a strip, and then to adhere it to my card, I used my ATG gun on half of it, and then the little part that's going to hang off the side there, I put a square of foam tape so that that can stick there and be nice and secure. And then, of course, knowing me, I had to go over the whole sentiment with my Wink Stella and add a bunch of sequins. So the sequins that I used on this card are actually the mix of sequins that came in my Hero Arts kit from March. Obviously, I didn't use all of those sequins, just a couple of them here and there. For my second card, I wanted to use the same exact colors that I used in the first background. I just changed it a little bit by going horizontal instead of vertical. I just really loved the way that rainbow turned out, so I had to do it again. It's okay though, because it kind of makes these cards go together, like they're meant to be in this little series together. Speaking of going together, I decided to do another kind of window on this one, looking to that really pretty background. But instead of doing panels, I cut a circle out of this panel of paper using a big circle die. And I kind of cut it off of the bottom edge there, and then I put that over by popping it up with foam tape. So I still have a few of the images that I colored earlier that I'm going to use in this card, but I decided at this point that I wanted to use one of the big dragons from the Me and My Dragon stamp set. So I stamped this guy right here using my Misty tool. And I stamped it using my black ink, and then I went over it using my Versamark ink so that I could heat emboss the image. And I heat embossed it using a black embossing powder. And the reason I decided to emboss this instead of just stamping it with my black ink and then coloring it was because I knew I wanted to color this little guy black. And I figured if I embossed it in the black embossing powder and then colored it, it would make it so much easier. If I had just stamped this image with my black ink and then colored it all black, you would probably lose a lot of the detail in the line work. Because, I mean, unless you're going to go in and do a ton of highlights and work really carefully, which I didn't want to take the time to do, it was so much easier to just emboss it in black, which makes those lines stand out so much more. And it really came out much better that way. It really made the coloring process so much easier. I took the rest of the clouds that I had die cut and I put those in the background. And I also took this little castle and this little mountain that I colored and put those in the background as well. And I glued those straight to the paper to make them look like they're further back in the distance. And of course I'm going to go over the clouds with my Wink of Stella brush. Whenever I have clouds, I always go over them with the Wink of Stella. I heat embossed this sentiment strip, which says, "Thanks for believing in me." This sentiment is from the same stamp set as the sentiment in the first card. Next I went over the sentiment strip with my Wink of Stella brush, and after that I took out my Sakura gel pen and did some highlights on the dragon. To finish up this little scene, I'm gonna pull out a ton of sequins and put them all around in the background in the empty spaces. I'm using mostly clear sequins and some star sequins. Once I glue all those down using my Tombow glue and my Silhouette Pick-Me-Up tool, I'm going to come in one last time with my Wink of Stella brush and go over all of the clouds on the two little background images. And then this card's done. Thank you for watching today. I hope you really enjoyed this video. All of the supplies used in this video can be found in the description down below. If you liked this video, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you can see all of my future videos. I will be back with a new video on Monday. Again, thank you for watching, and I hope that the rest of your day is wonderful.